Approval of minutes. Tom, oh, no, first, need to have you call the roll. Tom Day.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll call the roll. Chairman Hawkins.
Here.
President Masterson. Vice President Wilborn. Speaker Pro Tem Blake Carpenter.
Here.
He did say, okay. Majority Leader Croft.
Here.
Majority Leader Alley. Minority Leader Miller. Here. Minority Leader Sykes. Everyone is on.
Thank you, Tom. So the first order of business is approval of the minutes. Tom Day, could you?
Mr. Chairman, in front of you are the minutes of the December, I believe it was 18th. December 18th minutes of 2023 for the council's approval.
Is there any questions on the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion? Motion, Senate President Ty Masterson, is there a second? Second, Majority Leader Croft. All those in, is there discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed,
Aye.
no. The ayes have it, motion passes. Second item of business is travel authorization for the Alec 51st annual meeting. To discuss this item, the chair recognizes Tom Day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This item, I was asked to put together some information regarding out-of-state or regarding meetings that are chaired by regional or national association groups to get as many legislators at these meetings as possible. The 51st annual meeting of ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council, will be held in Denver this year, July 24th through the 26th. As in past authorizations, the Legislative Coordinating Council has authorized for in-state meetings. This is one of the first where it's an out-of-state meeting. Travel for legislators and what that reimbursement should be. In the memo, I have outlined some options for consideration. In the past, we have recognized that the number of days of the meeting is what the legislators would be reimbursed for salary. The number of days plus, and in this case, an en route day for those legislators wanting to go to the ALEC conference in Denver, and that would be for 4 days. That would be 3 meeting days plus 1 en route day. Also, mileage and tolls or airline fare, and my first option is to cap that at $500. And then there would be no other reimbursements as actual expenses. This would cover everyone that is not a state coordinator for ALEC, the national chair of ALEC, because he is also an LCC member. It would not cover any LCC members. They would all get actual expenses. But this would cover any other legislator who is not a state coordinator, the chair of ALEC, or an LCC member. So it'd be just like an interim committee meeting. They would get salary, subsistence, mileage, and tolls, but we could, whatever the council's prerogative is here, whether they want to cap the mileage and tolls. I can tell you that the number of the members going to ALEC that are far away from Denver, I would take as an example one particular senator who lives in Baxter Springs. His mileage to and from Denver in round trip is 1,400 miles. Some of the closer ones, such as Goodland and Weskin, they are in the 396 to 405 range. So that's the gamut of mileage from far southeast Kansas to just outside the Colorado border for some of those members. So there are a couple of options that I have put on the memo and leaving it up to the council for whatever their decision is.
Thank you, Tom. So one of the things we looked at when we were looking at this is also airfare. And airfare from Wichita or Kansas City, you can get well under the $500 mark. So that $500 would certainly cover airfare. For somebody from Baxter Springs, they're not going to get all of their mileage paid because it's 1,400 miles from there. That'd be about $700 and some dollars in mileage reimbursement. So they'd be capped at 500 if we chose that. So with that, does anybody have any questions for Tom? Minority Leader.
Thank you. So on here, it says the 3-day subsistent is at 201. Why is,
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that.
okay, thank you.
The subsistence rate for the Denver metro area is $201. So we would be paying the subsistence rate for Denver versus the subsistence rate for Topeka, which is 166. It comes closer to covering the one night stay at the hotel.
Have we normally done that when it's traveling to other states? Do you do the subsistence in that area instead of our rate?
We usually don't pay subsistence for out-of-state travel. We usually pay actual expenses.
Okay, thank you.
And this certainly gives us quite a bit more than what our own subsistent rate is. Any other questions for Tom? Representative Miller, Minority Leader Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We received a week or two ago a travel memo from LAS that had a number of members listed as attending this with all expenses paid. Those people are authorized irrespective of what we do today.
That is correct.
And I think there were, what, 15?
Yeah, so there was quite a few staff on there, and then, of course, leadership, who the state takes care of those.
Well, there were a number of members that weren't in leadership. I assume that's because they were like a chair.
That's correct.
We have two options listed in front of us. A third option would be just to stick with the standard travel policy. Correct?
Right.
Thank you.
Further questions? Majority Leader Croft.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Which one of these actually resembles what the Minority Leader just mentioned? The actual expenses today?
Actual expenses?
I mean, what our current travel policy is today?
Neither.
Neither one of them.
Basically, neither one. These are both hybrids of any
Okay.
part of that.
Okay, do we have a motion? Yeah. Motion for option 1 or option 2?
For the recommendation from LAS, which is option 1.
Option 1. Is there a second? Seconded by Majority Leader Croft. Discussion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor of LAS's option 1 for the travel for the 51st annual meeting of Alec, say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. There's 2 noes, so ayes have it. Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm not sure it's required in this body, but I wish to have my no recorded.
Okay. Representative Miller wishes to have his no vote recorded. Thank you very much, Representative Miller. The motion passes. Okay. The third item of business is travel authorization for annual meeting of the Uniform Law Commission and Kansas Geological Survey 2024 Annual Field Conference. To discuss this, the chair again recognizes Tom Day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is our annual request and for LCC authorization to pay the expenses for the Uniform Law Commission members at their annual meeting in Boston, Massachusetts this year, July 19th through 25th. This is for authorization for the 4 members, the Honorable Athena Andea, Representative Susan Humphreys, the Honorable Sarah Warner, and Senator Kelly Warren. I do not know who all is attending, but I do believe Ms. Andea and Representative Humphreys definitely, and I assume that the Honorable Sarah Warner is also attending. I have not heard from Senator Kelly Warren. So this would be authorization for all 4, a blanket authorization for all 4 under the Uniform Law Commission. And I can either pause or I can go on to the KGS. Either way.
I would just move on to the next one too.
The other conference is the annual Kansas Geological Survey 2024 Field Conference. It will be held June 11th through 13th in Manhattan and Marysville. They will be staying in Manhattan. The current itinerary is for them to tour Tuttle Creek Reservoir and the Humboldt Fault, the Blue River Trailhead Stream Bank Stabilization Project, the K-State Soil Testing Lab and Agronomy Farm, and the Kansas Geological Survey Kansas River Index wells and the Geological Survey's stream gauges. In the past, for the Kansas Geological Field Conference, what we have done is paid the salary and subsistence for the number up to the number of days of the conference. So this year it would be 3. We would also pay mileage from their homes to where they are staying. This year it is in Manhattan, so there'd be round trip mileage and or tolls to Manhattan. And no other mileage in case they were to happen to not take the bus to Marysville and drive themselves or something like that. So it would be 3 days salary, 3 days subsistence, and mileage and tolls.
Questions for Tom? Seeing no questions, is there a motion? Motion by Representative Croft, second. Seconded by Representative, or Senator, sorry about that, I got ahead of myself. Senator Wilburn. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Ayes have it, motion passes. Fourth item of business today is implementation of the legislative salary provisions of Senate Bill 28, Section 145G6. To discuss this item, again, the chair recognizes Tom Day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the speaker just noted, this involves Senate Bill 28 and legislative leadership budgets, as well as salary increases across the board within the legislative branch. On the 24th of April, the governor signed Senate Bill 28, and it states that all legislative branch state agencies shall receive a sum equivalent to the total of 5% rounded to the nearest penny of the salaries of all benefits eligible unclassified employees in the legislative branch to be distributed as a merit pool. This would cover all leadership offices, as well as the Secretary of the Senate, Chief Clerk of the House, as well as all of the legislative agencies. And the legislative leadership budgets do not increase without action of the Legislative Coordinating Council. If the council so desires, we would need to increase the legislative leadership budgets by 5%. And I have a small table in the memo as to what the proposed increases would be for each of the offices. And my recommendation is that we approve, that the council, The council approve a 5% increase for all legislative leadership budgets. However, individual leadership staff increases must be authorized by each leader. And the second half of this, if you want me to do the second half, Mr. Speaker, dealing with the legislative agency directors, our salaries are approved by the Legislative Coordinating Council. Increases in the director's salaries as part of the appropriations bill passed by the legislature and signed into law must be approved by the LCC. The agency's directors are included in the 5% increase calculations that will be part of the merit pool. Since any of the recommendations, as I stated last year and the year before and a couple other years, would be self-serving on our parts, we would leave this up to the council.
Questions for Tom Day? Seeing none, is there a motion? Senate President Ty Masterson has a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move we approve the salary increases that were provided for in Senate Bill 28, subsection 145G6, with the legislative agency head increases subject to the final approval of the LCC Subcommittee on Administration.
Is there a second? Seconded by Majority Leader Croft. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Motion passes. Fifth item of business is approval of expenditures for attendance of members at House and Senate committee meetings authorized by the Speaker and Senate President to meet prior to the 2024 special election. To discuss this, the chair recognizes, if he's on, Revisor Gordon Self. He's not on. So we will defer to Tom Day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This would allow the president, this authorization would allow the president and the speaker to call back any of the standing committees for the special session prior to the special session. And it would be, we would leave this up to the Legislative Coordinating Council and or the speaker and the president, whatever committees need to be called in. I believe the plan is for the 17th, that Monday prior to the 18th special session.
Yes, that is correct. So we want to, number one, if we're going to have a special session, we want to be efficient with that. And so to do that, and hopefully to be able to keep the special session one day, it would be necessary for us to call the committees back on the 17th so they could do their work on informational hearings. So by doing that, we would be able to speed the process up. Further discussion, Senate President Ty Masterson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And just to echo your comments, obviously this is to be able to abbreviate the official special session, but still accommodate the entire legislative process of bringing committees in, having hearings, and be able to do that ahead of time because of so many conflicts in June, right, with our members and trying to get everybody here. So with that, I'd make a motion. I move to authorize the reimbursement of expenditures for attendance of members at the House and Senate committee meetings authorized by the Speaker and the President to meet prior to the 2024 special session.
You've heard the motion. Is there a second? Seconded by Majority Leader Croft. Is there discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Motion passes. Okay, sixth item of business is the consideration and approval of expenditures for attendance of members at meetings of joint committees required to meet pursuant to authorizing statutes. To discuss this item, the chair recognizes Tom Day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This authorization and approval or consideration would be to bring 3 joint committees back in to do their statutorily required meetings in the second quarter. So it would be a June meeting of 3 committees. They are the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules and Regs, the Joint Committee on Child Welfare Oversight System Oversight, and the Bob Bethel Can Care Joint Committee. And this would allow them to be reimbursed and to meet in the month of June to satisfy their statutorily required meeting.
So some folks may be thinking, hey, we got a whole lot of other interims possible out there, and we do. We're just not taking those up today. We're just taking up the joint committees that have a statutory position. Those others will come at the next meeting, so prepare for that. I think we've maybe have 6 requests in. Am I close, Shirley? I think there's probably 6, I believe, maybe 7 so far, but in the next meeting, we will take those up. Any discussion or any questions for Tom? Seeing none, do we have a motion? Motion by Senate President.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move we authorize the reimbursement for expenditures for attendance of members at the meetings of the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules and Regulations, the Bob Bethel Joint Committee on Home and Community-Based Services, and the Can Care Oversight and Joint Committee on Child Welfare System Oversight held during June of 2024.
You've heard the motion. Is there a second? Second by Majority Leader Croft. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. A motion passes. So the final order of business today is an update on the legislative CETO position and then directions for recruitment and recommendation of replacement. Chair recognizes again, for the last time maybe, Tom Day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As you all probably know, the Legislative Chief Information Technology Officer, Alan Weiss, retired as of last Saturday, and this is to get direction and/or recommendations for recruitment of a replacement from the Legislative Coordinating Council and how we go forward at this point.
So the CETO actually, way it's set up, reports to Tom. And so since the CETO has retired, Tom becomes the CETO until something changes, until we have something else. So congratulations on taking on that.
Again.
Yes. Is there any questions for Tom on this issue? None? So I assign to the LCC Subcommittee on Administration the responsibility to develop the process and make a recommendation for replacement of the legislative CETO and direct Mr. Day to post a position opening an announcement for the legislative CETO. And with that, that is the end of business today, and we are adjourned. Thank you for